Welcome to Midlife Madness, where we get unfiltered and brutally honest about our midlife years. Midlife Madness podcast. I hope I don't forget what we're going to talk about today.
Well, that's what we're talking about today.
What are we talking about today? Oh, wait a second. It's coming back to me. Brain fog. What the F?
I remember when I was pregnant with my kids, I remember people talking about like pregnancy brain and like new mommy brain. And I thought that was bad. I thought that was, I've always had a great like memory for memorizing things. And, I've always been like pretty good at that. And I remember pregnancy brain just absolutely kicked my butt. And I thought, well, my kids are grown. Surely that phase of my life is over and I'll be smart again someday. And then, perimenopause happens.
Woohoo!
Yay. Fun being a girl, always. Always.
Perimenopause. So let me tell you, okay, I'm in perimenopause. What about you, Dr. Marty? Where are you at?
I'm done.
You're done.
I'm done. And I'm okay with being done. And I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for the process and for the things that I've discovered during the process, which we're going to talk a little bit about some of those today. But let me tell you something, even with everything that I do every single day to keep my brain, basically, because it's not like I'm trying to get smarter or I'm trying to get whatever. I want to be able to keep my faculties for as long as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
I want to age gracefully.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we still have a lot of life to live.
Yeah.
And things to accomplish. Like we got goals, we have things that we want to do. But this midlife madness situation is no joke, man. Like, let me tell you, I am very proud of being a person that is very productive. Like I like every moment of my day to produce something, whether it's something for work, for the office, for Inspire, for our franchise, for our kids, or resting. That's something productive, right? Like no matter what it is, like every moment of the day I want to be I want to have output. I want to produce. I want to do stuff. I'm highly energetic. I'm very organized. I kill things. I do a lot in a short period of time. I've always
you do
been
100%.
I've always been like that. I've always been a multitasker. I attack things. Putting out fires is my thing. Like all those things. And one day,
there's one time.
One day, I was sitting here at my desk working, and I had like this out of body experience that I was like staring at the screen of my computer. I'm like, what the hell was that? I literally was like, it's like time to sit still. And I did not know if I was coming or going. I'm like, what am I supposed to do next? Like, this is freaking crazy. What is going on here?
And it sneaks up on you. I think it sneaks up on you.
Yes.
Because, we talked about like the pregnancy brain, the mommy brain, right? And I think whether you have kids or not, most of the time as a woman, you're being pulled into like 50 different directions all the time anyway. So to an extent, it's normal that you forget something or that you drop the ball or on something, because that's, we're busy. We're doing a lot of stuff all day long. So we're used to like a certain amount of that in our daily lives.
Yeah.
But the other day I left my house and I had my reading glasses on my head times 2. I was walking around with literally 2 pairs of glasses on my head. And then nobody told me. Nobody told me. I left my house like this. Nobody told me.
Oh
And it's
my
things,
God.
it's things like that. It's things like you walk into a room and you forgot why you got there,
Yeah.
right?
What was I
Your out
gonna
of
look
body
at?
experience, you're in the middle of working. You had this out of body experience. All of a sudden you can't remember, like, what am I doing here?
Or you're like in the middle of a conversation and you're like, I was getting at something. What was I getting at?
There
Like,
was a point to this.
what was I? It's like, oh my gosh,
Like,
like, what the heck? We're there. Time flew and now we're there. Like,
we're turning into our
holy
parents.
crap. So there's a study. I read this article from Healthline, and there's a study, and the study showed that 60% of middle-aged women report difficulty concentrating and other issues with cognition. These
And you
issues
know what?
spike in women going through perimenopause. Like,
And you know what? I think the other 40% just weren't polled. Because I don't know a single woman that goes through the process completely unscathed unless they have been very, very diligent
yeah,
throughout their whole life to try to avoid that. It's crazy. It's basically your body turns into a hormonal shit show. That like there's nothing. It's like, what happened? But I'm eating clean, I'm exercising, I'm
yeah.
doing all the things. And
So
there's definitely strategies,
there
but
is strategies, and it also like in this article it says that researchers explain that women going through menopause may generally feel a more negative mood, and that mood may be related to memory issues. So, like, that's another topic that we could talk about. But I've been nasty to my husband when I was in the process of figuring out that I was going through perimenopause. I wasn't nice a couple of times. But it says here that it may be related to memory issues, not only that, but brain fog may also be connected with sleep issues and vascular symptoms associated with menopause, like hot flashes. Like it's a ball of pain in the assness. Like
yes,
it's
it
a
is.
ball of like,
It
what
is.
the hell? Sleep
It's
issues,
it's
hot flashes, memory
it's
issues,
but it's
mood
so
issues, so many
so
issues.
for people that don't know, because I know that most people have heard the term menopause and perimenopause and all these things, right? But as women, we have hormonal cycles from the time we hit puberty. Okay. And we have those cycles, right? We have a rise in progesterone, we have a drop in estrogen, we have, like things go up and down cyclically every month. And then all
Fluctuations
of
all
it,
the time.
fluctuations all the time. And then all of a sudden, it stops. But it doesn't stop in a way that it's like a balanced stop. It's just like, you had $100,000 in your bank account and then today you have none. Good luck. Have a great day. Have a great day. We hope you enjoy that.
Like from
Um,
one night to, one day to the other.
and so this is why the changes that women go through in middle age are so drastic, and why there's such a negative connotation with getting older and with aging and all the things that you go through. And it affects you physically, it affects you mentally, it affects you emotionally. And so there's things you could do to cope with it a little bit better. There's things you could do to prepare yourself for a healthy old age, which I think is important because we're getting there, right? Like we're definitely, we're not over the hill, but we're definitely standing on the peak looking down at this point. And so it's one of those, it's one of those processes that could either be, very friendly or extremely, extremely drastic all around to
Yeah.
yourself and to the people that have to cope with you.
Yes. That's why there's some husband that says that's why it's called men no
Oh,
pause,
pause.
because the men in your life is paused. Men Oh, pause.
menopause.
Oh my gosh, if she's
They don't want to
speaking
be
about
around you either, so
menopause,
it's
then we
good.
have a really great marriage. But listen, here it says, so it's like you're in perimenopause, right? But in this article with the study, it says specifically women in the first year of their last menstrual period score the lowest on testing evaluating verbal learning, memory, motor function, attention, and working memory tasks.
So
So
you're not losing your mind. You are truly experiencing these things. It's
yeah,
not in
and so
your head.
but you're
Yeah.
experiencing it like in perimenopause, but then it shows like the first year of their last menstrual period.
So that last year when you're skipping periods all the time, that last
That's
year when you're like, when is it ever going to go away? So that last year is the peak for all of the horrible symptoms, basically. And it makes sense because basically your hormones are completely leaving you.
yeah.
So
And then it says, but then after that, the memory for women improved over time. So like there's a crescendo. There's like a crescendo and then it comes back.
I think it's more like you get used to your new way of existing,
Uh-huh.
right? Kind of like when you bring a newborn home, your life is going to change. It is 100% going to change. It's a different stage of life. It's a different, there's things you could do before that now you can't, right? And I think it's the same thing as you're, in this new phase. I think it's super important for everybody that's listening to realize that there are some solutions and there are some things to make it better. There's things you could do at home. There's definitely things you could do with a provider. But there's, it's not the end of the world. And there's
Yeah.
ways to go through the process as healthfully and as peacefully
Yeah.
as
Well, I can
as
share one thing that I did. Like when I had that moment that I was like an out of body experience and it was so out of my character, like and how I function. Um and besides that, my boobs were hurting me. Like my breasts were tender 3 weeks out of 4 weeks a month.
that's awful.
It was awful.
It's
The
like the
last time my
PMS from
breast was
hell.
tender like that was when like after I gave birth. You know how your boobs get like you don't want anybody to like
It's like,
touch
don't look at
them.
me.
You
Don't
don't
look at
want.
me.
Do you remember that? That's
Yep.
crazy, right? My breast was tender like that 3 weeks out of 4 weeks, like 3 weeks out of a month.
That's literally the
And
PMS from hell.
yes, and not only that, I was spotting. I was spotting 3 weeks out of the month. So I was not only breast tenderness, not only I was spotting, and then I find myself like having this out of body experience, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? I since I know about this stuff, so I'm like, oh yeah, I'm perimenopausal, like I'm there. So what I did, and I'm normally a good sleeper. I've always been a good sleeper, maybe too good of a sleeper, but and I was kind of experiencing some of stuff like that too. So I I went to get hormone replacement therapy. Like I am very, 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 very far away from menopause. That's what the doctor said.
However,
However, I'm in perimenopause having these little symptoms. And so
and
I
typically
was,
perimenopause can be like 4 or 5 years long. Like
yes,
some people go into perimenopause in their 30s.
yes. And some people
And
are
it's
pushed into menopause, clinically pushed
and
into
I
it. So there's like
remember,
different, you
yeah,
know,
there's different. It's not like, you hit 50 and all of a sudden you're out of luck. This
yeah,
it trends. And it's kind of interesting. And there's different things that shift your hormones throughout your life. I remember I'm always hot. Like I'm always just warm.
yeah.
And people ask me, like, are you having hot flashes now as I got closer to actual menopause? And I said, I've had hot flashes since I got pregnant with my first child. So that hormonal shift never went away to an extent, right? I didn't know any better. You know, when you ask our mothers, right? The generation before us, you asked them about hormone replacement therapy and bioidentical hormones and all these things, and it was very demonized.
Yeah, it was.
It was very, just recently, there are studies that they're publishing showing the benefit long term in terms of bone health, cardiovascular health, obviously mental health, because if you think you're going crazy, or you think you're losing your mind, that's not good. So there's right now, there's a lot of acknowledgement for the benefit, which prior to our generation, that was not the case.
Well, let me tell you, like, I never thought I was gonna do that. Like, it's never was in my radar.
When I started, you were like, I don't need any. I'm old.
Well, when you
I'm the
started,
old
I
friend.
didn't need any, and then
Yeah.
what the
And
heck?
then, and I told you, I was
overnight
like,
things
listen, when
happened.
you need it, you're gonna be like, where do I go? It's
I
like,
did want to go like as natural as possible. I did the bioidentical, and my estrogen levels, I'm estrogen dominant, and I just need a teeny tiny little bit of progesterone for right now. And when I tell you the first month that I did that, I mean, this is a midlife madness podcast, so we're gonna get really real in this podcast. I don't give a crap. So I have not had such a great menstrual cycle since I don't remember the last time. Like, it was the most non-eventful, most beautiful menstrual cycle. I had no, you know, I had no pain. It was just like, it was awesome. I think that
it was how it's supposed to be
it's
when your
supposed
hormones are
to be.
balanced. Yeah.
My boobs are fine. It just kind of like took care of business. My brain fog is, I think it's better. I haven't had like one of those weird episodes yet. I do forget things here and there, but it could be just because
You're
I'm 29
busy.
years old. I don't know.
You're busy.
And I'm busy and I have multiple things going on, so who knows?
Yeah.
But that's helped me a lot, That's
One
one
of the
thing.
things, one of the things that helps with brain fog a lot for a lot of women, and again, everybody's at different stages, right? So it's important to find a provider that you trust, first of all. It's super important to understand that most providers don't do bioidentical hormone replacement. They just don't. They're not educated. It's like us. We do a lot of nutrition. This is what we do at Inspire.
Right.
We have a weight loss center. Most providers have no clue of how to put somebody on a well-managed eating program that is sustainable. So it's, it's not saying, your doctors don't know what they're doing. I can't do open heart surgery, right? Everybody's trained. Everybody has their deal.
Our thing, right?
We all have our thing. So please find somebody that this is what they do, not somebody who dabbles, not somebody, not your regular OBGYN who's never done it before, but is going to try with you because you asked. Please.
Yeah.
Please find an expert, a local expert in this, because it's amazing.
Well, the thing is, Dr. Marty, is like, this is the way I explain it. And I got some of this from you, was that sometimes when you go to your regular doctor and you're like, hey, can you check my hormones? They only do a certain panel that, they just check your hormones, and they just make sure that you're within range, right? And I went to a functional med doc because I don't want to be within range. And
want to be optimal.
This is your word. I want to be optimal. Like, I don't want to just be in range. Like, when I went to a doctor and the doctor told me you're within range, okay, but my boobs still hurt. My brain is shot. I'm bleeding 3 weeks out of 4 weeks, so I'm glad I'm within range, but something's definitely not right. And I don't want to be within range. I want to be optimal.
And
so
it's super important.
Functional med doc who told me this is where you should be, even though you're within range.
Based on your symptoms, you still have a lack of X, Y,
Based on your
Z.
symptoms, correct?
Because that
not
was
based on a scale. Is based on your symptoms.
And the reason I found out how important this was is, right post COVID, I think my thyroid went bye-bye. Okay. My lab work was normal. It was within range, and I was gaining 1 to 2 pounds a week. no matter what I did.
And puffy, you were so
I
puffy.
had,
Your
I
hands,
had,
your
I
fingers.
was super puffy. I was all swollen, so much inflammation. Nothing that I changed nutritionally was making any kind of long-term progress difference, right? And I was like, okay, this is kind of whacked. I own a weight loss center. I know how to lose weight and I'm doing it. And then I'm losing 15 and I'm gaining back 20, like literally like this, like, you know how much I have to eat to gain 20 pounds in a month? Like
Wow.
baffling, right? I
Yeah.
was like, something's wrong. So that's at the point where I found my bioidentical hormone guy, right? My specialist. And so he's like, "Oh, your thyroid is not working." And I was like, "What do you mean my thyroid's not working? My numbers are within range." And so he was like, "Well, but all of these symptoms that you have are of a deficient thyroid.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Brain fog, sometimes thyroid, sometimes testosterone."
And then when you have all of the above,
And
it
then,
gets really ugly.
right. So, unfortunately, COVID hit me as I was hitting the middle, of my perimenopause. So all of the symptoms all at once, I was a hot mess. And I was like, okay, I don't know how to do any better than what I'm currently doing. I don't have the energy to go exercise, 27 times a week. I'm eating clean.
Yeah.
I'm not a drinker. I'm not a heavy drinker. I was like, what the heck? Like I looked like I was so puffy. It looked like I was like binging.
Yep.
And it's amazing. So that was huge for me, was the hormone replacement has been a life changer. I don't know anybody, honestly, I don't know anybody that has gone through it with a qualified provider that doesn't, that
Yeah.
isn't just like, yep, amazing.
So that's
The
the
other
key.
thing,
That's the key. Like, we're not doctors. We're not
nope,
meaning we're medical doctors. We're just sharing our personal experiences.
we're
Um,
consumers in this
we're
case.
consumers at this case. So we're sharing like what there's things that you can do to help you guys. Like those of you that are listening, watching, you don't just have to like go through life, miserable and going through these things. Like there's things that you can do. That's one of them, right?
Mhm.
Just make sure, like Dr. Marty said, go to a provider that knows what they're doing. They specialize in this, because it can be life changing if you're going to the right place, and getting the
Yep,
right treatment, right?
yep,
Second to that, like in under every single umbrella, when you check what can you do to feel better, there was always the number one thing is always eat well.
eat well, diet and exercise, baby.
It does not matter what you Google or what you research. The number one is always eat a well balanced diet, right?
And super important for brain health and for hormone health is healthy fats, right? Healthy fats, lots of lean protein,
Yep.
eat your veggies, eat the colors of the rainbow. I
The
mean,
veggies, people.
it if you're 47 years old and you're like, nobody taught me to eat vegetables, you can teach yourself to eat
Yourself
vegetables.
to
You're a
eat
big kid.
vegetables.
You're a
Nobody
big
taught
kid.
me.
I'm
I only
Cuban. You know
Yes,
what
me
Cubans
too.
Cubans consume?
Yuca,
Oh my, yeah.
the
Yuca,
worst vegetables.
yuca. Okay, in my household growing up, vegetables were iceberg lettuce, tomato,
Tomato,
cucumber,
cucumber.
onion, and avocado.
That's it.
What
It's
other
it's
vegetable? Every once in a while, my mother ventured out like the canned green beans
and the pitipua,
and
the
the
peas,
pitipua,
the
yeah,
canned
and the peas, the
peas,
canned peas, which typically go in rice. Like we don't eat those as a dish, right?
and then
So,
you have what is it, your baseline, which is the
rice,
no, which
rice,
is the
beans,
onions, the pepper, and the garlic, and not the adobo. There's a word for it. Anyways,
yeah, the sofrito.
el sofrito. There you go. That's vegetables.
But that's the extent of what I was taught to
And then you
eat in
had
terms
the
of vegetables.
then you had the starchy one.
You have all the
The plata
plantain,
maduros. the yuca, la malanga, la papa.
None of which is healthy for you. And typically in a Cuban household, it's given to you fried. Like, just to make it even better, it's starchy and we're gonna deep fry it.
Yes, we're gonna deep fry it for you.
We're gonna deep fry it, okay? And then we're gonna put salt on it because
And then we're gonna stuff it down your throat because if they're asking you for seconds, if they're asking you, do you want more? And
and
they're
you say
while
no,
they're
they get offended.
asking, they're serving you. So it's like you have no choice.
So, so when people come into my office and they're like, oh, nobody ever taught me to eat vegetables. It's just not what we did at home. It's like, you're 47, you could change the narrative.
Yeah.
Like, you have a choice.
Take control of your body.
Take control of your body.
Teach your body to do what you need to do to reach the goal that you want.
And and to be 100% transparent, I prefer fried plantains to broccoli. let's just get it out there. I'm gonna put it out there. If given a choice, like, what would you rather have? Well, I'm gonna have some tostones. Thank you very much. We're golden, yes, right? 100%. But I can't do that every single day.
No.
I cannot do that every single day. I cannot have my family doing that everything. I'm doing something different in my household than what my parents did with me. Yeah. Right? They did their best. I know better nutritionally than their best. Yeah. So it's my job to teach my kids better so that their baseline is starting at a better point than mine was.
For sure.
And so that's kind of what we're asking everybody out here. It's easier to revert to things that we know how to do. It's definitely a heck of a lot more comfortable, but you don't grow in comfort.
Yeah. Or like willing to try, because I've had where like, well, I don't like any of these vegetables. Well, have you had them before? No. Well,
or you steam them in the microwave.
Like, how do you know you don't like it? You've never tried it before in your life. Maybe you do. Like, it's a psychological thing too. You know what I mean? Okay, so number 1, hormone therapy. Number 2, eat a well-balanced diet.
Healthy take control of your nutrition.
Take control of your nutrition. And so, like, it's funny how many people don't know what healthy fats are. Like, so I can tell you that it's not canola oil. It's not corn oil.
Not corn oil or vegetable oil. Crisco.
It's none of that, which our family used to buy in gallons, by the way. Yep. Like lard. Remember the lard?
Yep. Okay, yep. So really good on the rice when you know.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Anyways, it's incredible how we've survived our childhood.
It's amazing.
So yeah, use the coconut oils, the avocado oils, the olive oils, right? All of those
butter, grass-fed butter. Grass-fed butter is so good for your brain. Yeah. We could go into that rabbit hole in a different session because we could talk about I could go into the brain and cholesterol, and
we'll do that. So
that's a whole other time.
Vegetables, whole grains, fish is a great one. Good beans, because not all beans are created equal. So some good vegetables and garbanzo beans, right? Good nuts, and of course the oils. Okay, number 3, get enough rest. Again, your typical tip.
We keep saying that, right? Go sleep. There's a whole book written for children called Go to Sleep. And sometimes I tell my adult clients that I'm like, why are you TikToking at 11 o'clock at night when you know you have to be up at 6 a.m. to work? Plug the phone in elsewhere, shut it off, give yourself that break for your brain to shut down so that you could rest and heal.
Yeah. And sleep, it says here that 61% of postmenopausal women report insomnia issues.
Well, you know why?
About that another podcast too.
You know why? One huge reason for that is the lack of progesterone, which your body doesn't really make naturally. And
going back to the hormones. Yep. So get enough rest. And I don't have enough time. Yes, we do. I told a client yesterday, I said, we all have 24 hours in a day. It just depends how we decide to utilize our 24 hours, how productive or not we are. And so, like, if you prioritize things, you can get it on your schedule. You can get it on your 24 hours.
We make time for things that are important to us all the time. we also waste a lot of time on things that in no way matter. And I think that it's super important to be honest with ourselves, right? It's something like we have to take a good hard look and see where we can trim the fat,
Yep.
right? In terms of activities that don't bring life to us.
For sure. 100%. And sometimes we just have to like switch out things. Like maybe there's an activity that you do that you enjoy, but and in this stage of the game, in this stage of your life, you need to switch it out to something else because we want to be able to remember things.
And
we want to have quality of life,
we
right?
want to have quality of life. It's life to your years, not just years to your life. And it's something that we have to, maybe you haven't had to eat vegetables up to now. Well, guess what?
And guess what? I know somebody in my family, which I'm not going to mention, that she does not eat any vegetable, like zero. And she's in her 20s. And I look at her and I'm like, man, it'll come.
It'll come. Your body
It'll
doesn't
come.
forgive you.
But
Your body doesn't forgive you in your 50s like it did in your 20s.
Yes, don't worry, you'll be eating vegetables later.
Yep.
So not having enough sleep actually makes your brain fog worse.
And that's at any stage of the game. That's why even little kids require 10 to 12 hours of sleep before school. That's why you're not supposed to let little children or even high schoolers stay up till 11, 12 o'clock at night when they got to get up early in the morning.
Yeah. And one thing that it's incredible how like there's so many things you have to gain an awareness of your body, to listen to your body. I figured out that if I eat any sugar or I drink wine, which I'm not a big drinker, but if I go out to dinner and I have a glass of wine, I'm hot at night. If I do those two specific things, I'm hot at night, so then I don't sleep well. So the next day I'm all discombobulated.
And that is factual, especially for me more than anything. I mean, if I eat something super carby at night, yes, but I don't do a lot of that. But alcohol of any kind, not just wine, alcohol of any kind. I've had to become a day drinker in my old age because I cannot do it with dinner.
We can't handle that anymore.
I can't. My body just doesn't like it. In spite of the hormones, in spite of everything else, I have to do my part, right? I have to not exacerbate things.
Yep. Okay, typical tip. Now that's a new thing. See?
A typical tip.
Typical tip number 3. Exercise your body. Hello. Of course. And specifically strength training for us menopausal women. That's the best. If you can do it physically, right? You gotta
If you can
careful,
physically
make
move,
sure.
you get to exercise.
Get to
And
exercise. Yeah.
and Martha, you know that I am not the exercise lover that you are. But I've had to wrap my brain around the fact that it's a privilege. It's a privilege to have mobility. It's a privilege to be aging strong. It's a privilege to, be able to, pick up my friend's kid and carry her around and get on the floor and get off the floor and and play.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a privilege. I get to do that. And in order for me to get to do that long term,
that, please, since I know you don't like to exercise.
I know. I tell it to myself every freaking day. I tell it to myself. It's a privilege as I'm putting on my gym clothes going, it's a freaking privilege. Come on. I'm working on it.
And then you text and you're like, oh my God, I'm hurting
I hate
everywhere.
my life.
And I'm like, yeah, I love that feeling. That's an awesome feeling. And you're like, you probably give
But I do it.
Finger.
But I do it because at this point in my life, I have no choice, right? So that to me is like some people's broccoli.
Yes.
And I understand that, but you have no choice. Like it's come to a point where you have no choice.
Yep.
A couple of other things, so now we have hormone replacement.
Eat well.
Eat well.
Sleep well.
Get enough sleep. Move your body.
And here's a not so typical tip. This is a different one. And it's actually the last one on here, but we may have some more. Exercise your mind.
So lately, fun fact, okay, so as we get older, so you're growing up, right? As you're going through your life, you're growing up, and every day you're actually learning something. If you think about it, as an infant, you know nothing. So obviously you learn everything. As a toddler, you're learning something every day. You go into school, and whether you want to or not, whether you enjoy school or not, you're being put in a learning environment every single day. And this happens for a very long time in life, right? Whether you go to college or not, you start a new job, you're learning something at your job. You have kids, you're learning how to parent, you're learning along with them. You are helping them with their homework. You're actively utilizing your brain every single day for something. And then all of a sudden, all of that goes away. And now you're sitting here like a lump on social media like this.
Yeah, we don't really use our brain so much anymore, right? Everything is
Correct.
handed to us on our phones.
Everything, right. We don't have to think anymore.
We don't have to think
So
anymore, and it's getting worse and worse.
I'm doing a language course on an app online every day. Takes me 5 minutes, but it's 5 minutes that I'm doing something that I normally wouldn't do.
Language are you learning?
Italian.
Nice. Okay.
Might as well be able to listen in on Donna's conversations with her family. So also being recorded. Now I know what you guys are saying. So, but so I do that. It's, it's 3 minutes a day. It's a free app, 0 excuses.
Yeah.
Everybody has 3 minutes a day. Do it while you're on the toilet, right? So 3 minutes a day. I do
reading. You do a lot of reading.
I read all the time. I read all day, every day.
And
Sometimes
it's not
I read.
It's actually
Yeah, it's actual books. I read, sometimes it's nonfiction. Usually it's fiction because that's what relaxes me. But regardless, every single day I read. It's very rare that I don't read. I have been doing fun things like Wordle, which is, again, it's free. I try to do a crossword puzzle every day.
Yep.
I try to do Sudoku every day. I do word searches.
I'm feeling some type of way. I need to
every day.
I need to do something because I don't do any.
Give it a couple more years and then you'll feel the urgency.
I need to implement some of this in my life.
Kind of like the hormone replacement. You didn't feel the urgency until the day you did.
You always
This is the same thing.
You're always the first one, and then a couple years later, it's my turn.
Yep. And so that's what I do. And again, it's it's my little routine. It takes me total, all of this takes me maybe 15 minutes a day. And I don't necessarily sit down and do it all in one go. I do it. I pop it into my day depending on when I have the time to. But I don't know how much it's doing, but at least I am actively making an effort to use my brain.
Yeah.
Which
that reminds me of like when people retire and they just
get old,
declining physically because they're not as active, but then they also start declining mentally. It makes sense.
Yeah.
So like whoever's listening, you don't have to wait until having brain fog or having all these symptoms to start working on it. Like work on it now.
Yep. If you're just going into your 40s, now is a good time, right? To make sure that you are setting yourself up for a healthier middle age, right? The other thing that that's not on the list that I 100% recommend is Bacopa and Ginkgo biloba. Okay, Bacopa is for long-term memory, and Ginkgo is for short-term. And they make a great combination. Get them, just don't buy the cheapest one. You don't have to buy the most expensive one, just also not the cheapest. That's, somewhere in the middle is usually a decent quality supplement. And you have to take these for about, I don't know, I would have to say probably you'd have to take them consistently daily for about 2 to 3 weeks before you start feeling a difference. But I used to do this when I had finals for school, like the month before, because, I was a broke student, so I couldn't afford to take this all the time. And I also had nothing to do but study. So it's not like I was, brain fogged at 22, but I used to take it like the month before finals would start. And holy crap, did it make a difference. in terms of learning. Now I just take it so that I could remember where I put my phone. But, different stage of life, we're good. But
Yep.
they do make a difference. Just keep in mind that like with most supplements, you're going to have to give it time to work.
Right. Yeah. Well, listen, I think this was an awesome podcast. Like,
What was it about?
what was it about? You forget what it was about. Brain fog. Oh my gosh, it's a thing. All right. So we have so much to talk about. Like, we're gonna cut it up. Midlife madness. In this midlife madness, we have so much to talk about. And there was a lot of good tips here. So, like, those of you that are listening, like, you're not alone and you don't have to be. And
Common, and
also
it
there's
doesn't
things
have to
that you
be.
can do. So reach out if you need some help. All right, Dr. Marty, that was fun, right?
It was.
Anyways, talk to you next time. Bye.